Entering 2025, the Denver Broncos have their best linebacker room since the Super Bowl 50 season. Or at least, I think they do. What's going on, Broncos country? Gage Madrid here, Denver Broncos Syndicate. Welcome to our third positional deep dive video for the 2025 season, where we go in depth on each position group for the Denver Broncos, assess their strengths, assess their weaknesses, and determine how they're going to contribute to this year's team. And today, we're going to be previewing the linebacker position, a position that on paper got a big time facelift this offseason. The Broncos are hoping for much improved play on that unit. Deep down, though, after peeling back the layers of the onion, I still have some residual concerns about this linebacking room. But before we get into that, guys, if you could just do me a big favor and leave a like on this video as well as subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. And before we get started, I wanted to provide some much needed context to determine how we got to where we are with this Denver Broncos linebacker room. So in 2024, the Broncos entered the season with Alex Singleton and Cody Barton as their starting tandem. Then, in Week 3, the Broncos' first win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Alex Singleton tears his ACL in the first quarter. Somehow, he has no clue it's torn. He finishes the game, leads the team in tackles for the game, and then after the game realizes that his knee is starting to swell up. They do the Lockman test, they perform an MRI, and they determine that he's got a torn ACL. So after that point, Cody Barton and Justin Sternad became the starting tandem at linebacker for the Denver Broncos for a majority of the season. And individually, if you were just starting one of those players or the other, I feel like you would have been okay and you would have been able to get by at that unit. Unfortunately, they had to start both of them, and they just didn't gel well as a linebacker tandem. They didn't cover up for each other's deficiencies, and it just felt like there were a lot of miscommunications at linebacker. The run defense was a big-time problem for that reason. In some of the Broncos' worst performances, they had issues in the run defense. You think about the Baltimore game. You think about the Indianapolis game. Thank you, Jonathan Taylor, for dropping the football at the goal line. Otherwise, Denver wouldn't have made the playoffs. And then, once we got to the playoffs, those same issues crept up in the Buffalo game, where James Cook just ran down our throats. The linebacker room was a liability at times for the Denver Broncos last year, and the Broncos are hoping now that with these added additions, bringing in Dre Greenlaw on a 3-year, $35 million deal, and getting Alex Singleton back, hopefully to full health, that they will have a competent linebacker duo. Hopefully beyond competent, they're hoping to have a star-studded linebacker duo. But, like I said, I still wonder deep down if the Denver Broncos are going to get the production that they're expecting out of that unit, mostly because of my concerns with Alex Singleton. We'll address those a little bit later on in the video. Before we do that, though, I wanted to announce that we've got memberships now active on the channel. If anybody wants to go above and beyond in supporting Denver Broncos Syndicate and the production quality of these videos, I would really appreciate it. It is not mandatory. You will still get the same content that you're accustomed to here on this channel if you do not want to support financially. But again, if you want to go above and beyond, the way you can do it, it is not in the description below, guys. It is right below the title of this video, next to the channel name and subscriber count. It's a little button that says join. Hit that button, you can choose what tier you'd like to support, and then you can go from there. Again, guys, not mandatory whatsoever, but we're trying to build the membership community here on the channel to, again, improve the production quality. So if you want to do that, that is now an option for you. And without further ado, let's get into this Denver Broncos linebacker depth chart. And we're going to kick things off with the newest addition to the Denver Broncos roster, Dre Greenlaw, coming over from the San Francisco 49ers. And it was a series of unfortunate events that led to Dre Greenlaw becoming a Denver Bronco in the first place. He has back-to-back incredible seasons for the Niners, over 120 tackles in both 2022 and 2023. He has a pick, or a pair of picks actually, in the NFC divisional round game against the Green Bay Packers in 23. They go all the way to the Super Bowl. Then, about halfway through the game, Greenlaw is running onto the field after a TV timeout. He plants his foot into the ground on the turf at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Pop goes his Achilles. And his entire 2024 season was lost because of this injury. Greenlaw only played in 2 games last year. He strains his calf that wasn't directly related to the Achilles, but obviously a big-time setback, and he ends up missing the rest of the year after that. Dre Greenlaw was incredible again, like I said, in both 2022 and 2023. For both Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton, the last time that we saw them on the field in a full season was 2023, so I'll be using 2023 stats for both of those players. 120 total tackles for Greenlaw in 23, 5 TFLs, 1.5 sacks, really good raw numbers there, and the Broncos are just hoping that he can get back to some level close to that production. In run defense, Dre Greenlaw was a solid player, not anything special, not anything to write home about. But that's not what he was brought in here to do. He was brought in here to be a coverage linebacker, a sideline-to-sideline type of player for the Denver Broncos. He's really athletic. Hopefully that athleticism is still there after all these lower body injuries. But in run defense, he had 247 run defense snaps in 2023, 16 run defense stuffs, a 6.6 stop percentage in run defense, which is pretty damn solid, 6 missed run game tackles, a 10.9 missed run game tackle rate, which was the 57th best in the NFL. So, not great, but better than Alex Singleton, if I'm being honest. We'll talk about that in just a second. And PFF grades, not everybody's cup of tea, and especially with some of these rankings here with linebacker coverage, I have questions about it, as well as linebacker run defense. He had a 70.9 PFF run defense grade, 36th, not great, not terrible, but PFF grades, take them or leave them. I think PFF's a decent tool to evaluate baseline data based off of the film, but their grading system, again, it's mediocre at best. But moving into his coverage, and that's where Greenlaw really does shine as a player. He had 105 man coverage snaps last year, and the Broncos play a lot of man coverage. They really transitioned to a man coverage heavy scheme last season. They were starting off when Vance Joseph took over as defensive coordinator in more of a zone-heavy Vic Fangio type scheme. Now it's a lot more cover one. They still will play zone, but it's more cover 3 zone than the Vic Fangio quarters coverage and quarter half and all of that kind of stuff. But in man coverage, Dre Greenlaw had 105 coverage snaps. He was only targeted 4 times in man coverage, allowed 1 reception for -1 yards, and he had 0 missed tackles in man coverage. That, I feel like, is why the Broncos think he's going to translate so well into this scheme, because he's going to play a lot more man coverage here in Denver than he did with San Francisco. In zone coverage, he did have a little bit of a drop-off from his production in man, but there's a couple of different reasons for that. Number one, he was playing next to Fred Warner, and teams did not like having to go after Fred Warner, so they're going to go after the other guy instead. He had 400 zone coverage snaps last year, was targeted 76 times, and gave up 53 zone coverage receptions for 455 yards, 8.6 zone yards per reception allowed. At the end of the day, that's not bad when you consider the context behind that circumstance. And also, I feel like he's going to play a lot more man in Denver than he is zone. He'll play some zone too, don't get me wrong. It's not like he's not going to play zone here. But I think this scheme arguably fits his skill set even better than what the 49ers scheme did for him. So, yeah, man, really excited to see. As long as Dre Greenlaw can reach his potential and get over the injury hump, he's still 28 years old. He's entering arguably the athletic prime of his career for the next 3 or 4 seasons. I think that Dre Greenlaw is going to be a really, really positive addition, and I think that he's going to immediately elevate this Denver Broncos linebacking room in terms of coverage. Run defense, yeah, there's a little bit left to be desired there, but more than competent, and I think overall it's a higher floor than Alex Singleton. Singleton is a guy who I know a lot of people in Broncos country love him. I get it. But I have always thought that Alex Singleton has been overrated here in Denver, and I think that he's kind of just a jag, just another guy. I don't think Alex Singleton is a special player. He racks up a lot of tackles. He gets a lot of volume tackles, but a lot of them are beyond the line of scrimmage after he's already lost the rep. Singleton's probably the most polarizing player in Broncos country right now. Either you love his game or you despise his game. And I'm unfortunately a little bit more in the latter. I don't think Singleton is a terrible, awful player, but he's a lot closer to just a league average, middle-of-the-road, mediocre starter than he is this really good player for the Denver Broncos. In 2023, which again was the last full season we saw from Singleton, 177 total tackles, which was third in the NFL. But again, volume tackles do not tell the whole story here. There's a lot more behind the scenes, and Singleton really struggles in run defense with missed tackles. He had 433 run defense snaps, which was the 10th most in the NFL last year, or in 2023, I should say. 31 run defense stops, 7.4 run defense stop percentage, which is solid, but I question how much of that is a product of him having the 10th most run defense snaps in the NFL. Because more often than not, he's getting beat out there and he's getting put on skates, and that's reflective in 16 missed tackles in run defense, which was the most in the NFL. Alex Singleton really struggled with missed tackles. He did have a 78.2 PFF run defense grade, but I question how much of that is a product of his volume production when he's out there getting put on skates. I just don't see that grade translating to the film or to the numbers. And in coverage, really bad. And I mean really bad for Alex Singleton. 116 man coverage snaps, which was 17th. 17 man coverage targets, which was the second most. 13 man coverage catches allowed, which was the second most. 122 yards allowed in man, fifth most. 3 missed tackles in man, most in the league. A 32.6 PFF coverage grade, second worst, and again, PFF coverage grades, but when it's down that low, you need to at least pay attention to it. 32.6, that's not good. And not much better in zone either. 327 zone coverage snaps, 54 zone coverage targets, 46 zone coverage receptions allowed, 371 zone coverage yards allowed, tied for the 15th most, 8 missed tackles in zone, which was the same number as Dre Greenlaw, but he did that on 130 less zone coverage snaps. A 13.8 missed tackle percentage in zone, and a 58.2 PFF coverage grade in zone. Yuck. And I want to remind you guys, these numbers were before Alex Singleton tore his ACL. He's 31 years old, and he's coming off of reconstructive knee surgery. Is he even going to get back to this level next year? I don't think that's a guarantee. I question if Alex Singleton is going to be able to play at the level that the Denver Broncos need him to play at. And it's for this reason that I think he's probably a little bit more on the roster bubble than fans want to admit, or fans even realize, quite frankly. We're going to see how Alex Singleton looks once we get out into training camp and in the preseason once pads come on and it's a lot closer to live bullets. But if you look at these numbers, Justin Sternad actually had better numbers in quite a few categories last year than Singleton did in his last full season starting. Am I saying that Justin Sternad is going to beat out Alex Singleton for the starting job? No, but I'm not saying that either. I think that Justin Sternad is going to come in and he's going to compete with his hair on fire. He got the opportunity to start last year. There were ups, there were downs. I'm not going to deny that. But I do think that Sternad is going to have a better chance at maybe winning this job than we all think he does. Sternad actually did say, once the Broncos re-signed him that they told him he was going to compete for a starting job. I don't think that means he's going to compete with Dre Greenlaw. I think that means he's going to compete with Alex Singleton. So for Justin Strnad, he started 14 games for the Denver Broncos last year, and his volume tackles were certainly a lot lower than Alex Singleton's, 73 total tackles. But I want to know how efficient you are in making these tackles. I want to know how productive you are. I don't want to know how many volume tackles you rack up, because Alex Singleton racks up a lot of tackles and it's 7 yards beyond the line of scrimmage after he's already lost the rep. And for Strnad, he had 8 TFLs in 2024 on those 73 tackles. When you compare that to Alex Singleton's 6 TFLs on 100 more tackles, I don't know, man. 3 sacks in comparison to Alex Singleton's 2. Justin Strnad had 204 run defense snaps last year, 19 run defense stops, a 9.5 run defense stop percentage in comparison to Alex Singleton's 7.4%, 5 missed tackles in run defense, 11.6 missed tackle percentage in run defense compared to Alex Singleton's 13.6, 61.7 PFF run defense grade. Compare that to Alex Singleton's 78.2, but again, the volume tackle thing. 6-man coverage targets allowed, 41 yards only allowed on those 6 targets. 1 missed tackle in man coverage in comparison to Alex Singleton's 3. 6.8 yards per catch in man coverage, which is pretty solid actually. A 43.7 PFF coverage grade in man. Not good, but better than Alex Singleton's 36 or 32.6. So, yeah, man, Justin Strnad, he's not a great player, but if you're going to have a jag, I'd much rather have the guy who's making less money, and Justin Strnad is making significantly less money than Alex Singleton is. If the Broncos want to free up some money, could we see Justin Strnad maybe plug in as the starter? I don't know. We'll see. I will say, though, the one area where Justin Strnad is a step back from Alex Singleton is in zone coverage. That is very notable here. 255 zone coverage reps for Justin Strnad in comparison to 327 for Singleton in 2023. 40 zone coverage targets, 31 zone coverage receptions allowed for 305 yards. You compare that to 46 receptions allowed for Alex Singleton on 54 targets for 371 yards. 6 missed tackles. The missed tackle rate is much higher. 22.2 missed tackle percentage from Justin Strnad in comparison to 13.8 missed tackle percentage from Alex Singleton in zone coverage. Their PFF grades are almost identical. 57.2 from Justin Strnad, 58.2 from Alex Singleton. These guys are a lot closer in production than I think a lot of people want to admit. I do think it's definitely possible that Justin Strnad beats out Alex Singleton, especially when you consider he's healthy. He might have the higher ceiling as the healthy player. We don't even know if Singleton's going to get back up to his previous level of production coming off of that knee surgery. So it's just a conversation to have. Do I think ultimately it's going to happen? Probably not, but it's possible. It definitely is possible, and something that I couldn't go this episode without at least mentioning. Now moving into Drew Sanders. Drew Sanders entering his 3rd season as a Denver Bronco, drafted in the 3rd round back in 2023. He only played 18 defensive snaps for the Broncos in 2024, had that torn Achilles in the offseason, came back towards the back half of the year, played pretty decent on special teams in the 66 snaps that he got. Then he did show a flash on defense when he played in the Chargers game, the second Chargers game. He got a sack as a blitzing off-ball linebacker from the A-gap on Justin Herbert. Flew in there like a heat-seeking missile. There's still something there with Drew Sanders. And Sean Payton announced this offseason that they're settling him in as an inside off-ball linebacker. No more of this experiment with edge rusher with Drew Sanders. So he finally can just learn one position. I'm hoping that this is the year that it finally clicks for Drew. He's only 24 years old. He's still a very young player. I think it's definitely possible that he's able to develop into a backup for this team, a key backup for this team. Hell, I even think it's possible that he could show a higher ceiling than Justin Strnad or Alex Singleton, and maybe he wins the job. I don't know about that because I think both of those guys are better in run defense than Drew Sanders is. But we'll see what happens, man. I haven't given up on Drew Sanders yet, and I don't think the Denver Broncos have given up on him either. Lavelle Bailey now moving into the developmental and undrafted free agent side of things. He's entering his second year with the Denver Broncos after signing as a UDFA last year out of Fresno State. Another young guy, just 24 years old, Lavelle Bailey is. He did show a lot of promise last year in training camp and in the preseason. We all remember that 94-yard pick six that he had in the preseason finale against the Cardinals, and his performance in camp in the preseason was good enough for him to make the initial 53-man roster coming out of camp. He did go to the practice squad after a while, but was elevated back up to the 53-man roster and spent the remainder of the season there. He had 5 snaps on defense, but 145 snaps on special teams. Lavelle Bailey is a really intriguing player. I'm hoping he can take that next step in his development in year 2, and hell, maybe he surprises all of us and he comes out and he looks like the best linebacker out of the group outside of Dre Greenlaw, and maybe he ends up winning the job. Crazier things have happened, man. Not saying that that's going to happen, but definitely at least in the cards there, because I do think Lavelle Bailey is a really intriguing and high-ceiling player. And finally, just to touch on the 3 undrafted free agents, J.B. Brown out of Kansas, he signed with the Broncos for $160,000 guaranteed. That's an indication that the Broncos really like his game. I had a late-round draft grade on Brown coming out. He had 74 tackles in his final year at Kansas. He's probably the top undrafted free agent linebacker that I'm keeping an eye on as of right now. Corene Reed out of Utah. He had a really strong season in 2022. Kind of fell off a little bit after that, trying to recapture some of that 2022 magic. And then Jordan Turner out of Michigan State. He signed a little bit later on, I believe after a minicamp tryout. I didn't get to him scouting, so we'll see what happens with him over the course of this offseason. We'll see if he can make an impact in training camp and or the preseason. I cannot believe that we're just a few days away from Camp Broncos country. It is super duper insane. We're getting through these deep dive videos here. The next one that's going to come out is going to be the edge rush room, and then interior defensive line, and then we'll go into offense after that. It's getting really exciting, guys. I'm so pumped for training camp. We are finally here. All right, Broncos country, let me know in the comments section below. After previewing this linebacker room, do you think that there are some concerns to be had about the overall depth with Alex Singleton, if he can stay healthy? Not to mention if Dre Greenlaw can even return to form after his injury. There's just some concerns deep down that I have about this linebacker room. Do you share some of those concerns, or do you think that everything is sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows for the Broncos linebacker room? Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts, as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video, as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country, just like you and me. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.